Hey guys, I'm Ash.
And I'm Pete.
We're two friends with a combo of 7 kids ranging from toddlers to 20s and 2 crazy husbands.
Our paths were not easy. With childhood battle wounds, divorce, second marriages and all, we somehow found each other. And together we talk real life, laugh, cry, and figure out how to survive the day.
Hey guys, it's Ash and Pete.
Hey, we're back. We are back.
We are back. And we are excited, maybe not, to talk about teenagers.
Yay, they're so fun.
So exciting.
Yeah.
I was just telling Pete, I feel like we could probably do about 17,000 episodes
I know.
on teenagers.
Yeah.
There's
Because there's so much to them.
Yes. I feel like I say this about everything. Like they're just so much. I feel like I say that about everything.
I know.
There really is. And maybe it's just because once you have kids, it's like your entire life is consumed by them.
I know.
And so it does seem like so much.
For our listeners who don't have kids or who aren't like in the kid zone right now, like we will get to other topics, but this is like, I think that it's something that's really just kind of has flown. It flows for us because we're currently going through these stages right now. Right. And we'll go back to them, I'm sure, throughout our time because
absolutely
there's so many different stages. I mean, you're dealing with boys. I'm dealing with a girl. I mean, that in itself is so different.
Right. I really do think my mom says when I was a teenager, she was like, oh my gosh, your emotions like this. I don't remember being that way. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I just want to remember I was so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I do tell my kids that like, I was a good kid, but I'm like, I was such a good kid. But then my mom's like, remember when he used to make you cry you used to cry all the time. And I'm like, what? No, I don't remember that. Like I remember a few occasions, but she makes it seem like I cried every day.
So does she, you say Hayden is your emotional one.
Yeah.
So does she see the connection of you two? Because I mean, I see it now knowing you as I see your guys' personality traits a lot in each other.
Yeah.
Does she see that?
I feel like his emotional side, she noticed more when he was younger. I think for him, and it's probably because, he's a teenage boy, so he's not really talking about a lot. My mom takes the boys to karate, and so I love it because she gets like the car rides with them, so like a few weeks ago I was saying something and Hayden goes, oh yeah, we were talking about that with grandma today, and it's like something from when I was a kid. So I love that they have that time. I don't think Hayden's getting super emotional about any of it, just because of his age. I think she recognizes his anxiety and that type of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that is more of a personality trait that's recognized than which I do think he's gotten a lot better with. Remember, he used to call all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Anytime we were gone, he was constant.
He's gotten way better. He had super anxiety, really needed to have on the dot, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's gotten a lot better about that. And I feel like that's kind of helped a bit with his emotions too.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just that he just doesn't care anymore because he's a teenage boy. I don't know.
So, and it's interesting. I feel like there's different stages, and I don't know, right now, Tristan is almost 16.
Yeah.
And I would say she was a very easy kid.
Mm-hmm.
She was not like my Danny girl. She was like an easy baby, easy toddler, pretty easy, chill, laid back kid. She was a go-getter when it came to school. School just came naturally for her. But she was so friendly and sweet with her friends, and she always wanted to bring something for someone. And she used to drive me crazy because in school she would give oh, so-and-so, my friend so-and-so didn't have snacks, so I bought, it's like you spent all your money on these people. Sometimes I'm like, are they really your friend?
Yeah.
You know,
or they just want your snacks.
They just want your snacks. And what did you get? Oh, I didn't have anything left. Like, she just has always had that about her, and I've always loved that.
She's still like that, though. You know, like she'll bring stuff from home, like, oh, she wants this because so-and-so likes it. And
she does. I mean, she's still, till this day, all of a sudden, like Tony one day told her, hey, how come your backpack is full of like whatever? And she's like, oh, well, so-and-so never gets to pack their lunch. And, you know, they hate, of course, eating lunch from school. Like that is like, ugh, you know, which I don't blame them. It is pretty gross.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, so she brings them food, you know, or whatever. And she is still sweet like that. But as time has gone on, and as she's developed in her emotions and her going through puberty and all of those things, like, I've seen, like,
did she get pubic hair in her armpits?
Oh, yeah, like I said, I was telling Ashley about, you know, speaking of teenagers and the girls, it's like, okay, you start going through puberty with them. And puberty for most girls I knew, they didn't start their periods at 16. They started at like 10 and 11.
Yeah.
You know, I was one of those young girls. Right. And there were so many that I felt like at 11 years old, you're pretty much either have already or you're almost there. Yeah. You know, between 11 and 13 seemed to be like the prime time.
And I feel like they start even earlier nowadays.
And I feel like so I was telling Ashley this story and I said, well, you probably like developed, you know, like I didn't really develop except, and I pointed to my underarms and I said pubic hair. And she's like, you have pubic hairs in your underarms? Oops, wait, hold on. That's not really where pubic hair goes.
No, but but I also, you know, I have light hair. So even my underarms, I could grow
that's
my
what
hair.
happens when you're Mexican. You get this dark ass hair.
But you also have eyebrows too, so you're welcome. You got
true.
Maybe you have to shave a little more often, but at least
more often. I swear, it's like crazy. Like, I think that I would be fully covered in hair if I didn't shave.
But your arms are so not hairy.
You know, that is the weird thing.
It's so funny.
I know.
Where you get hair and where you don't. Because I'm very light, my hair, but I have a lot of hair on my arms.
And you know,
I'm very fuzzy.
Do you have back hair?
I'm very fuzzy on my back.
Really?
Yeah. And Jackson is too. Jackson takes a lot after my side of the family. Like, he has my family build and that kind of, and like a little fuzzy back, like the lower back part. Yeah. And Hayden is like no hair. Yeah. You know?
So I don't have that, funny. But I know even like my mom has that, and then
the little fuzzy.
Yeah. Like she has like full hair, but I mean.
Well, I say fuzzy because mine's so light that you know, you see it in the sunlight.
Right.
But what about the girls? Do they have the littles?
They are not really hairy yet. Just a full set of hair
on their head. Real hairy on his arms and stuff?
No, I mean, he is, but not like crazy. Yeah. You know, like some people have it and it's like, I swear it wraps around their whole arm. Yeah. You know, he's not like that. Yeah. I think his is like on a normal more scale, you know?
Right.
He has like hair on his chest and stuff. You know, some men don't ever get really hair on his chest.
Jason has some, but he's not super hairy. Like Hayden's like, when am I gonna get because he has armpit hair.
I was going to say
your
armpit hair.
Looks like your dad's.
Has pubic hair in his
He does have pubic hair in his underarms.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
It's like, but that's like Jason. You know, it's not super thick, and it is a little darker, but it's not like dark. But I'm like, your armpits look like your dad's. Like, that's how it's going to look. He's like, well, when am I going to grow like a beard and a mustache? I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't think it's happening.
Yes, I'm never doing.
My brothers don't grow hair. Like, they're very patchy. They don't grow very good beards and mustaches. Yeah. And Jason is very patchy.
Yeah. So just tell your boys if they're going to be patchy, just skip it all together.
Exactly. That's what, no. They will not be allowed to have patchiness. No, thank you.
And, you know, it's just so funny. Like, you know, they start going through these changes and it happens on the outside. It happens on the inside. Yeah. I feel like right now, I would say, she was such an easy kid. And then we hit 14 and a half.
Yeah.
15. And I mean, like, knocked the socks out of me. Like, I was off of me. It was just like nonstop. Like, it was tension, fighting. Yeah. She was no longer my easy kid.
Right.
She was pushing the boundaries like no other.
Yeah.
And I was like.
And I think, this may have to be another conversation, but I think a lot, kids in general at that age, you think you know everything.
My gosh.
You know it all. Your parents are so dumb. Like, they just don't get it.
Which I can understand because I remember being that stupid kid that thought that.
Yeah.
But they really take it to next level
and
nowadays.
I think social media is a lot to do with that.
I agree.
I agree. They think they know everything, and like they have these other people out there on social media that are feeding into that. Yes. And so like, well, they're not the only one. So obviously they know because we don't know. Hayden said something earlier. He was like, because I said something about dinner, and he was like, well, I didn't really have very much. And I said, well, it's 6:00. So what you're going to eat that's going to be your dinner. You don't need to be eating like a full meal later. You need to eat your dinner now. And he was like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. Mother always knows best. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're being sarcastic, but you're right. You do. I do know. Thank you very much.
You should walk around singing that song from Rapunzel. From Jungle.
If you could just be little Rapunzel, I'd appreciate
Mother
it.
Does know best.
Yeah, I do. But it's like, I don't know. There's so many things that go
I feel
on.
like we grew up in a time of like your mom is always like what your mom says goes. Yeah. What your parents say go. What your dad says goes. Whatever.
Society was like I think we're on that brink where like the people who their parents are their parents versus their parents are their friends.
Yeah.
I feel like we're right there on that, edge. Like they say, like we're millennials. I feel like we're a little more old-fashioned.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah.
Like,
because we're on the older millennial side.
Yeah.
The younger ones, but even my brothers who are much younger than I am.
I think your brothers are still very similar in that way.
They are
very traditional.
Very traditional. Mm-hmm. And we've had, this was the biggest fight this year of like, I don't have to explain myself. Right. What I say goes. Yes. Period. End of discussion. I am whatever. I am the queen of this house. I'm the whatever. Whatever you want to call me, the boss, the whatever.
Yeah. I am the end all be all. It is. And this is what it is.
This is it.
Yeah.
In this house, it is this way. And there is no ands, ifs, or buts. And you don't get to question it. And we grew up in a world of you don't question it. And nowadays, and maybe it happened when we were younger and people just got, their asses beat. I don't know what it was, but I think like you would not dare like question your parents as to why they're telling you something.
No.
If I sat there and told my mom, if my mom said, sit down, I'm going to talk to you. And I said, why? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. There's no way that would happen.
I remember things like, I don't remember anything like exactly what it was, but I do remember because I said, like moms always, because I said, there's always that one thing, but it's more of like, well, why do I have to do that? Not like I'm having a serious talk with you and now I'm questioning you, not something like that, because I feel like, and I don't know if it's my kid just being smart, being a manipulator. I feel like at this age, they're so much better at manipulating. Like they'll manipulate at any age, like they're going to do it as soon as they can. But there's Hayden. Oh my gosh. A few weeks ago, he was like, well, I feel, you say this, but I feel like you when you're doing this, it isn't making it seem like you really are this way. Basically, like trying to work me. Like, you say that you trust me. It wasn't about trust. I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically, like, you say all of this, but what your actions aren't showing that. And it was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I will show you some actions that are, I was like, oh, he was trying to work me so hard and like make me feel guilty about what I was telling. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I don't know if it's like kids really, because kids talk about things and like, oh, well, that's not okay. And everything. Like, oh, this is right. That's not right. They shouldn't be this way. They shouldn't be that way. Everything's about political correctness and everything. Right. So it's like,
and I have said, this? I know. And I keep saying to them, like, look, you can not agree with whatever it is. I don't really care.
Yeah.
You're not going to agree. There's going to be times where you're going to hate me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm doing is the right thing at the end of the day. But you don't get to voice that and come and question me.
No.
And you better keep that real tight-lipped.
Yeah, you keep that to yourself, and you say all that when your door's closed and no one's around.
Yeah, under your breath, behind the closed door where nobody can hear. And if you're going to talk to your friends about all this little stuff, you guys better make sure it's not in a text that I find, because if I find that text, it is over.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, it better be voice conversations, because you leave those receipts and you are done. Yeah, no. I know it's just crazy. And I don't know, not that I don't want my kids to feel empowered. I do, but not about the wrong thing. Sometimes they really think they have this power about these things where it's like, you're still the kid.
Right.
And I understand that, that's what Hayden was telling me. Well, he said, you said that I was grounded because of this. And now you're telling me that I'm not going to get my stuff back unless I do this. You can't just change the rules in the middle.
Yes, I can.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I can't change the rules in the middle. And he's like, you tell me this, but then you're doing the, I was like, who is telling you to say this kind of stuff? No, thank you. I feel like they all talk and come up with these stupid little things to say.
I know. And that's what I mean, where it's like raising teens, obviously raising toddlers is difficult because it's a lot.
They're very needy as far as like they need you to do all of these things.
Yes. And it's exhausting physically sometimes and mentally.
Yeah.
But teenagers are like, it's a crossbreed of a toddler and an adult and a dummy and everything,
A dummy for sure. Yeah, because with the toddler, it's like, okay, they don't know because
they don't know.
But a teenager,
is just being dumb,
Yes. And why?
And even the good ones, I don't care. Like, it's not like my kid was a bad kid.
No.
It's just that she has tried to push the boundaries this year. And I'm like, hell to the no. We are not doing this. I don't know what mama you think you have, but
and
not this one.
Yeah, where did you think I was the last 14 years?
Right, because
that was not the mom you were dealing with. So I don't know what makes you think, like, they have changed in these ways, and so they think they can work it. Right. I don't know. It's just, it's so different. And I mean, I don't know, maybe, I want to say maybe my mom felt the same way, but I wasn't like that with her. It's like,
you were a good kid.
I was good, and I listened to my mom, and I, for the most part, we got along. I know that there were times where I probably was a big B word and stuff, but it's like, for the most part, I didn't question her, and what she said, it did go. And I mean, my mom was a pretty, like, I feel like my mom was a pretty chill mom, but it was probably a lot to do. And my mom had my niece from when she was like, maybe 14 to 18.
She was trying to keep up with everyone, right?
And so my niece, it's like, I would tell her, you just have to be honest with grandma. Like, all you have to do is be honest. Like, I remember being a teenager, like, hey, Mom, I'm going to so-and-so's house. Their parents are gone. There's going to be drinking. Like, I'm not going to be drinking, but there is going to be drinking. Okay. Like, my mom was fine with it. And it was me being honest. And I mean, I was always honest. Like, I remember being probably like 11 and I was with some girls that I lived in the same complex as them, and we went over to their aunts, and their aunt was gone and they were going to invite boys over, and I was not comfortable with it. So I like called my mom, like, hey Mom, can I stay the night again? And she's like, well, do you want to stay the night again? I'm like, no. And so she's like, okay, well, no, and so I was always very open with my mom about this made me uncomfortable, stuff like that.
And I think that's sometimes that like that is key. Like that is what you hope for.
And that's what I would try to tell my niece, if you're just honest with grandma and you just don't lie to her.
Right.
Just, if you're going to go somewhere and stuff's going to be going on, just tell her, be honest about it, because it's when you're hiding it, then that's when the hammer comes down, And so it's like, my mom was very easygoing, but I think it's because we were so open with each other, which makes a big difference, and now and I don't know, I mean, with COVID and everything, I'm sure things are different, but I worry about those types of things now with Hayden. Like, who is he hanging out? Because he'll tell me like, oh yeah, so-and-so is like smoking weed, or, like he'll tell me about these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is he going to get like sucked into that?
Influenced.
And it's scary. And I should probably talk to my mom, like, Mom, how did you deal with it? Because
it is so scary. And I think like I have tried to talk as openly as possible, but your teens are not, most teens are not always as open as you want them to be, right?
Yeah.
You want them to be open.
Because it's like, oh gosh, Mom, you're so dumb. Like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And I look back and I remember how I was as a teen, and I'm like, oh God, please don't try to get away with those kinds of things. But I also, obviously I take it as a parent of like, I see things, like I get it. And when I feel like something might be a little sketch, I'm going to question it real quick and I'm going to call it out. But, and she's still a very good kid. It's just that teens push the boundaries.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, are you going to be with someone and do something stupid because you just want to see what it's like, or someone else is doing it and like, I mean, they're fine, right? So it's like, those are things that are super scary.
And those are the things that you start to really be, I think, like that really start to hurt or to really affect you when you're raising your teens, is that it's like, unlike when it's a toddler and it's
you have just so much control.
You have all the control. All you have to do is keep them, happy, alive, going, and
if it were only that easy with the teenager.
Oh my gosh, you're starting to shape and mold these young
and that's
adults,
scary.
And it is so scary. So I want to take a break. We come back and talk a little bit more about that. And I want to talk to you about raising boys through puberty, because I know what it's like raising a girl.
Yeah, so you have to.
I have zero. Well, I mean, I guess I have my brothers, but that's it's
you
just
were
different.
There with that.
So we'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we left off. I want to talk about how, like I've said before, I mean, toddlers are so much work, but then teens, it is so like stressful because you're like, the pressure is on to raise these good humans.
Yes.
Right? Like to raise these people, they're like pre-adults.
Yes.
Teach them how to have good work ethics, how to have good overall ethics, morals, values,
Be good people, make good decisions,
Make
be
good
smart.
decisions, be smart. Don't care about what other people, are doing. Do what's right for you. I always, and we laugh about it now because, like, I'll say it sometimes, like, in passing to her, but we would always pray for Tristan to be a leader and not a follower. Like, every night when we would say our prayers, I would pray, like, and she has always marched to the beat of her own drum.
Yeah.
Even on times where I maybe didn't always like it.
Yes.
She's always marched to her own beat. But, you want to teach your kids to be leaders and to be decision makers and to be confident and to be proud of who they are, but not prideful, like to be proud but not prideful, and to have this balance of goodness in them with strength. And I feel like although you start those lessons very early on, there comes a point, and I think that maybe because I'm in a little bit more of the thick of it with her right now, and I see that I have another 2 years of high school before she
could be on her own.
She could be on her own. She could be going to school in a completely different city. And I have, not that I'm not going to be involved.
Or not going to school.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't. Okay, those are going to be conversations we have to discuss too.
Oh my gosh. It's like, don't give me a heart attack right now.
Oh my gosh.
I know. But it's like, those are things that I think become the most stressful, and the decisions. And she hasn't even started driving yet. I mean, that's another thing. Like, I talk to parents who have kids that are driving, and it's like that scariness of them making good decisions because now they're behind a wheel.
Yeah.
And, you hope you drill all of these lessons into their heads, but you hope that they make the right decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you hope they make the right decisions with those kinds of choices, with peer pressure, but also with relationships. We talked about premarital sex and stuff. You hope they make smart decisions in those sense, and school and education, and in prioritizing things,
what everyone else is doing.
Oh my gosh, the pressure.
Like, when it comes to driving and stuff, on Hayden's birthday, I let him drive. And
isn't it kind of a cool experience to
your
kids?
But I did want him. Jason's a much better driver than I am, but Jason was out of town on his birthday. And so I took him driving, and I think he's a little more comfortable with me,
yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know. I think it's just like that mom thing, you know?
Yeah.
Jason's more of a, like, he's not an emotional person. You know what I mean? So it's like, but Jason's a much better driver than I am. I am not a good driver. I do not want my kids to drive like me. Like, Kyla drives like Jason. And as scary as it is, because she scares the hell out of me, I feel very comfortable with her. We would let her drive us on the freeway when she was 14. Like, she drove us to church. She drove home from Madera one time, like.
From Madera?
Yeah.
At 14?
Mm-hmm. She's always been, I just always felt so comfortable with her. She drives like Jason. She's very confident.
Yeah.
I am not confident. And I feel like Hayden will probably be a lot like me, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
So I wanted Jason to teach him how to drive. And so I took him driving, and he did fine. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
But I always wanted Jason to do it because he is so much better at that. I'm a worrier. I stress, that kind of thing. Like, and Deja, I'm obviously much more comfortable now, but when Deja was first learning how to drive, I remember being in the back of the van, and I was like holding Kyla's hand. And even though Kyla was younger, I felt more comfortable with her, but it's because she was more comfortable,
right?
And so it's like, but like when it came to driving and stuff, even when, Kyla was like 18, she would call us and say, "Hey, I'm going to go to a party. Can you schedule an Uber for me?" And so it's like making those good decisions. Like,
I love that.
I love that.
Is it
great. You know, like, of course we want her to follow laws and things like that, but I was a kid too.
And here's the thing. Look, how old was she?
She was 18.
Already,
19,
yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not like she was 10,
but she's not like 14.
Yeah. And
she's at a party. I mean, she very well could have, but
she could have been. Yeah. She wasn't sharing that with us.
But what I'm saying is, it's like, there comes a point where, and I think I'm okay. I think I have a hard time thinking about it in high school, but after high school, thinking like, I mean, we've had this conversation where I told you, like, I've had a friend who, her parents paid for her Uber account.
Yes.
Because they just put it on there. It was tied to their card, basically.
Yeah.
They basically said, look, we never want you to be in a situation where you feel you have to drive.
Yeah.
And so we would rather pay that for you to get home safely than to ever think that you have to be behind a wheel. Which I thought was super smart.
Yeah.
My friend might have been a little bit on the older side to where I thought, maybe you could do your own Uber account.
Yeah. And I mean, even right now, you know, Kyla's 21 now, but I would still feel comfortable paying for her to have an Uber because I mean, you know, she's still going to school and, you know, she works and that kind of thing, but she also has her bills and things like that. If it's coming down to, is my kid going, am I going to pay $30 for my kid to take an Uber or is my kid possibly going to get in an accident and something happened to her, something happened to someone else? Of course, I'd much rather her.
Absolutely.
And I love the relationship that I have with my kids because I feel like, you know, obviously the girls are adults now, but even when Kyla was like 18 and things like that, I love that they felt comfortable enough to call, hey, you know, I'm going to go to a party. Can you do this? That kind of thing. Because I love that they felt okay with us to do that. But another, it's knowing that they're going to be okay.
Okay. So before we get into that, because that's kind of going into like
adulthood,
raising adult children, you know, raising adult children.
Yeah.
But back to the high school age. So do you think like Hayden is 14?
Mm-hmm.
Ninth grade?
He will be going in ninth grade.
Yeah. So he's about to enter in high school.
Oh, gosh.
Which, let me tell you, I see his changes.
I know, and everyone says that. And I don't.
With him all the time, more than most people.
Yeah,
I'm
You're with him
a lot.
Yeah, and you would be like the next person.
Yeah, I see the changes in him.
Mm-hmm.
His face.
My mom's husband said something last night. He was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that Hayden came like downstairs, and he was walking behind my mom's husband, and Hayden said something, and he was like, I didn't recognize that your voice is very low. Your voice is dropped. And I'm like, and my mom doesn't hear it either.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like, and obviously I think that our situations will be very different because I dealt with a girl raising girls, and I still am dealing with raising girls and you're raising boys. But, and I think maybe boys maybe hit that mark a little bit later than girls.
I agree. Because I feel like, oh my gosh, all the stuff that you're going through, that you've gone through, I just think like, I feel so lucky that I'm not there, but I feel like it's going to be there eventually.
There's going to be things.
It's just boys are later.
Boys are later. And I feel like, and I mean, COVID couldn't have happened at the worst time because
I know.
had
a 10-year-old versus a 15.
Yes, because I feel like I heard it from multiple people that this was about the time things were going to kind of get a little sticky anyway.
Yeah.
And then for COVID to happen and everything, and kind of everything just went to head. And I mean, I got to tell you, we went to her checkup with her doctor on Friday, and he's like, how are things going? How's everything going?
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, he's awesome. I love her doctor. He has 7 kids of his own. And so he like gets it. And he's so good with her. And she's like, good, things are good, you know, and everything. And he's like, I see even a difference in you from when you were here 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I said, I go, she's back in school. She's not back they're not back full time, but she's back
going more than twice a week.
She's going 4 days a week, 4 mornings a week. So she's there half a day, 4 days a week. And he's like, yeah, like I see it. And she acknowledged that she sees the difference too. And it's like,
I do too.
Oh my gosh. It's like I'm getting
your kid back.
I'm getting my kid back.
Yeah.
And things are happening. And she's going to prom with
I know. She just came home from her dad's. She's so happy, so cute, so excited.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, when she went to formal.
Yeah.
Like, obviously not last year. Was it last year?
Yes, it was right before COVID.
Oh my God. It feels like forever ago because it feels like they've been doing nothing for so long. But
can you believe that? I mean, because you know what? There was a point where I saw her picture of her at formal in January before COVID. Difference. And then I was like, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, where's my baby girl? Because COVID really, really was hard on her.
Yeah.
And it really changed everything. And I mean, it was not the same kid. I wasn't looking at the same kid at all.
Yeah.
And it just made me like, it like clicked for me. Like, and now I see it coming back. I see that light coming back.
And that's why the kids going, and I know, and not to get into this conversation where people feel strongly one way or another. I know some people feel like it's not okay. Some people feel that it's okay. Some people feel it's political. Some people feel it's not. Everyone feels different ways. But I think our kids, it is so important for them to have it's so important for them to be at school, to have those relationships. I mean, the learning is so important. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. It's so important. I feel like the last year and a half has been a complete wash. I don't feel like my kids have learned anything. I feel like they might as well have been on summer break the entire time.
Yeah.
But being able to go back and have normal conversations, they're wearing a mask, but at least they're having a conversation with their friends. They're they're going to school and they see their friends on break. They're going to school and they're in a class with other kids.
Right.
Their teachers are making contact with them, face to face. They can't sit. It's like on Mondays, I know, Hayden, I'm not there, but I know he's sitting there with his laptop in front of his stupid desktop and he's playing a dang game on his desktop or watching YouTube on his phone sitting on top of his it's like all these things that are not, it's like they need to be around other kids. They need that normalcy. And Jackson, I mentioned, he had baseball. We didn't get to do any games. It was all just practice and scrimmages and things like that. But it was something he looked forward to.
Right,
he was excited to go to practice. He was excited. Sorry, dropping stuff. But he was excited to go just for this 1 hour, even though he wasn't going to be able to play against other kids, at other schools. And when they did a scrimmage, I said, how was it go? How'd it go? Oh, it was nothing. There was no competition. The kids weren't competitive against each other. They weren't playing against another school.
Yeah.
So, he recognized that, but he still loved going to baseball. And it's, I can't wait for her because drama is so big for her. That's her love.
Her yeah.
I can't wait for her to be able to I hope that next year she gets to do those things.
I do too. And, and thinking back about it, it's like we've talked so much about like these kids, they start going through puberty, they start going through this, they start going through that. And it's like, they're so, they're this emotional person at this point.
Yeah.
And that's why kids get sucked into the love relationships. And that's why they get sucked into
they think they know everything.
And that's why they get sucked into the I know everything. Because they're just these little emotional people.
Yes.
And their hormones and their emotions are running rampant. They can't make it's like this is what the therapist told me a couple months ago is it's like, you may, for the most part, when you're not on fire and you're not seeing like red, you can make sense of things. You can internalize, make that decision of what is emotions and what is like fact.
Right.
Right. but they're not there yet.
No,
they're not
all
there.
running on emotion.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's all red.
And so that's why sometimes I think we get so heated at the same time.
Yes, because.
And then that's why sometimes it's like, it's also sometimes like a shutdown, right? It's
yes.
Like, no, fine.
Just
how's
done.
School?
Yeah,
fine.
Whatever. Yeah.
Talk to me. Can you talk to me? I'm asking you how school is. Like,
but they shut off.
Yeah.
I'm going through this small group leader thing at church. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because this last weekend, we were talking about, it was a lot of heavy stuff, like, being aware and, how to handle situations where, kids may be gossiping, or maybe there's sexual abuse or bullying, or, all of these different things that kids can be dealing with, and how to recognize it and handle it. And that was one of the things that the leader of it, she had mentioned, she said, you have these little people and they have such big emotions. Mm-hmm. She said, even as bigger people, sometimes we have these big emotions that we can't control, but they're always these little people with these big emotions that they're trying to control, and they don't know how to. And, like you said, the therapist said, logically, us sitting here, we can think logically, like, when this happened, it was this or whatever, but they're just not matured enough yet. Yeah. I mean, even sometimes we're not big enough. We're not big enough to really be able to handle those, and we, fly off the handle or whatever. But it really is, they haven't gotten there yet. Yeah. And they're so controlled by it. And like when, I don't remember being upset a lot when I was a teenager. My mom remembers me crying a lot. And I think it's because you have those big emotions, like, I thought I was in love. And Hayden had mentioned something. He asked me, Mom, what is love? What is love like? And I said, well, what kind of love? Like, the kind of love I have for you, the kind of love I have for Dad. Like, they're different loves. Right. And he was like, well, the kind that you have for Dad. I'm like, that's really hard to explain, because it really is a feel. It's not a thing. It really is a feeling.
And as you mature, you understand and you comprehend what that love is more than you did 10 years before.
And he said, do you think that someone my age can love? And I said, I do. Mm-hmm. I don't think you understand it. I don't think it's the same type of love. Like, I thought I was in love. And I do think that, in the past I've loved people, but I don't think it was this type of love.
It's not the love that you have now.
No way. If those feelings are there, and that's kind of a lot of what it is. It's a lot of feelings. Mm-hmm. It's not a lot of logic and reason, which I think, like, the loves we have now, there's so much more understanding. And like those feelings are still on fire, but there's a lot of comprehension. Yeah. And the kids don't have that, it's just not, you haven't developed in that way.
Is Hayden ready to find love?
Oh gosh. Yes. He, my little lovey boy, he's just a little heart. And I hate it, because that's one of those things that it's like, obviously the girls are older, but, they've gone through stuff like that, and it's hard. And I think I always thought when I was pregnant and things like that, like, I want boys because I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, and you still do. Yeah. You still do. Jackson, I think, will be a little different. Because he's a little lover, like, he's a little lover for me, like, he still snuggles and stuff like that. But he's not going to be his whole heart is in it, where Hayden's whole heart's going to always be in it, and it's like, I think back, Kyla, during times where her heart's been broken, and it's like, and I mean, she's grown so much in the last year, it's like, you've seen the changes in her, and even it's going to make me emotional, but, even like her maturity in,
yes, I see that,
in like with love, it's like, she recognizes if something isn't going to work, it's not going to work.
Right.
And she doesn't let it yeah, it's sad for her, but it doesn't destroy her.
I mean, she is one, you got to be real proud of that
Yeah.
one, because she really is such a strong young lady.
Yeah.
She's young. She's young. She's a young girl.
Just turned 21. Yeah.
She still has so much life.
Yes.
There's still so much that she's going to go through, but geez, she is smart. She is so smart and so strong and so savvy.
I know.
And disciplined.
Oh my gosh.
This year has really showed everybody how disciplined she is. I mean,
I know. If I could have that discipline, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Me too.
I wish.
Me too. But it's like she's going to be okay.
She is. And like, she amazes me, you know, like she has someone in her life that she really does love and she cares for him and she would love for it to work out. But she knows that if it's not, like, there's stuff that people have to deal with. And, if it doesn't work, she's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I was ever as strong as her. Yeah. And it is something I'm very proud of. And to see that type of growth, and that's something that our younger ones don't have yet. I mean, I pray that they will.
That they'll be the same way. Yes. And they'll have those traits, and hopefully she helps them find those traits. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, I look at that. I have 3 girls.
And that's scary, right?
It's scary. And right now, and everyone can say, well, you should be proud. They're all very stubborn.
Yeah.
And yes, and that's true. And I hope that they stay that way.
But it doesn't mean their hearts aren't going to break. Yes. And then your heart breaks for them.
Yes.
It's like, Deja hasn't dealt with a whole lot of heartbreak, but she's had hard times. Mm-hmm. She's still gone through stuff. And it's like, I worry more about them than I do the boys, because I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a girl and I just feel like we can have our hearts crushed so easily.
Yeah.
Not that the boys can't, but I'm just familiar with being a female and the emotions that we carry, so it is one of those things where, I think with girls, that is scary. That is one of the things that I always worried about. Like, a lot of people would say, you don't want your own biological daughter. And no, my girls are enough, because that's a lot of scary.
Yeah.
It is. I don't need them to physically come for me to have that worry.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So that is something that I do not envy for you.
I know.
It's rough.
It is.
I mean, you remember being a young girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And T's right in that prime age.
She is. And I think that, she hasn't had that relationship yet.
Yeah.
But I know.
Luckily she hasn't.
She hasn't, but I know it's coming. I can just feel it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to prepare myself for it, because I don't know. I don't know. God help me. Help me to help my daughter, but I know it's coming, because it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's hard because, like, your boys have already had, like, their little mini relationships, right? Like, they've already had, like, their little girlfriends and all this stuff.
And Hayden's had, like, even in elementary school, there was a girl he really liked. They dated, they broke up. He was sad, and it crushes your heart. Mm. But those only last for so long. And I know, like, T's a teenager, those types of hurts, like Kyla's past relationships, they hurt and it is sad, but those are things that don't stay forever.
Well, and I feel like T is a little bit of a late bloomer in that, because we really raised her to be, we kind of gave her a little bit of Peter Pan syndrome, which is like, be a kid as long as you can.
I think that's a good thing.
It is. But I see it now. We're getting to that cusp of, like, it's kind of starting to, wither away.
She's not there anymore.
She can't. Yeah. She's trying to balance both, and she's realizing, like, she can't just be a kid anymore.
Yeah.
and we held on to that as long as we could. It was
You
like,
did.
be a kid. Don't, because I grew up so
You
quick.
did.
I mean, I
Yeah.
was a mommy at a young age, you know, to my
Right.
little brothers, and I had major responsibilities. It wasn't like
Yeah.
do the chores and help feed the kids a bottle. It was like real responsibility.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I always felt like I want my kid to be a kid. I want her to play and be a kid and have fun, and she has.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, I hope that it's, in the end, one day she looks back and sees that it's like, hey, you know, my parents
that was
did what
good.
they did to let me just
Yeah.
figure, like, not grow up fast. I just didn't
Yeah.
want that. But now we're coming to that point where it's starting to end.
Yeah.
And it's
You
kind
are.
of sad.
It is.
You know.
Yeah, because it's the end of that little girl.
And I think that there's a part of me that's ready for her to move on to that next
Yeah.
step, but it's scary.
It is. Because it really is, you open that door to all of these other things
Right.
that come with it. There's,
Yeah.
you know, like they're little people with these big emotions, but as they become bigger people with these big emotions, that pain is bigger, and there's,
Right.
I mean, everything is just, you know, she's almost 16. She's a couple years away from being an adult.
Yeah.
And that's
She's
when
about
they
to
start
get-
making
She's
life
about to
decisions.
get like a job this summer.
Yeah.
It's like, these are huge
Life
things
decisions.
that-
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is where her path really kind of begins.
And this is where I think that until you're kind of in this moment, I saw parents go through it before,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, like, that's cool, you know, and but you've done a great job. And she's
Yeah.
but until you're in it, do you realize like it's almost kind of like it takes your breath away, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be praying nonstop while I'm awake. You
Yes.
know, I'm gonna
Yes.
be praying. Please help me to help my daughter make the right decisions.
Yeah.
You know, help me to be the best parent that I can be, so that she can be the best person she can be. And then it's like, help her to make the right decisions.
Yes.
And now she's in.
And what is the right
influenced
decision?
with all of these things. And if she's working, then she's probably working with people that are even older than her. And people,
Yes.
you know, and it's like things
Yeah.
that you no longer have control like you did maybe when they just went to daycare.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different ball game.
It is. It really is. I mean,
So to say I've had a little stress this year with a teenager and a toddler. Toddlers.
oh, yes. Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it's one of those things, obviously it's a part of life, but it's one of those things that you can't really prepare for.
No.
And I don't know that you're ever really ready. You know,
No.
even as they're older, did you make the right decision? Did I help them the best way I could? Was that what I should have done?
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
it's rough.
It is. Can you believe we're out of time?
No.
We
I mean,
really-
I can, but I can't.
I know.
This is what I said, 17,000 episodes.
17,000 ways, because then we haven't even talked about kids going off to school or not going to school,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. We'll have to get
Okay.
into that. Yeah. Next week.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so
for
much.
swapping with us. We hope that you got something from this. And as always, if you don't already, follow us at Real Ash and P on Instagram, Facebook,
Anywhere
LinkedIn,
you can find us.
Twitter, anywhere you can find us. Yeah, we'll be around.
Yes.
We're gonna go do our TikTok challenge.
Woo!
Ash is gonna
It's
make me do
happening.
something really stupid.
Yes.
So
Keep an
look
eye
for
out.
that. And
Thanks,
have a good night.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Segment music by Callie Grace. For more of Callie Grace's hits, follow Callie Grace on iTunes and Spotify today.